The Dredge is a character that is often classed as a lower B and sometimes even as a C tier killer, but what if I was to tell you that in the right hands, he can be up to par with some of the top killers like the Blight and the Nurse. Hello everyone, my name is Gaming Athlete, and in this video I will be sharing with you guys my definitive 2023 Dredge guide. This guide will cover the basics of the Dredge all the way to never before seen techs and the methods of its power. I've been playing Dead by Daylight since early 2019 and I have almost 1,000 hours on the Dredge specifically. My goal with starting this YouTube channel and my Twitch channel is to provide my knowledge and experience into video form for anyone that is interested in playing this character at a higher level of skill. Learning and mastering the Dredge has been what's kept me hooked to this game ever since the Dredge released. He's a character that's rare to see in game and is highly regarded within the Dead by Daylight community. Before we get into this guide, if you would like to see more content about the Dredge, please consider subscribing. I have a Twitch channel where I stream 5 days a week where you can watch a top tier Dredge player in action. We just hit affiliate very recently and would absolutely love to have you stop by. Now, on to the guide itself. There are timestamps in the description that will take you to each section throughout the video. Feel free to use these if you feel certain information is not relevant to you. For those of you who are new to Dead by Daylight or just completely new to the Dredge, I will quickly go over his stats and power. The Dredge has a movement speed of 4.6 meters per second or 115%, and also has a normal terror radius of 32 meters. The first part of his power is called the Reign of Darkness. This allows the Dredge to hold down the power button and teleport to any locker on the map. Survivors can lock lockers to prevent the Dredge from exiting quickly, and it should be noted that any locker that has been locked within a close proximity to another locker will automatically force you into the locked locker. The Dredge by default can teleport 3 times in a row. These are indicated by tokens, and it takes 4 seconds to recharge 1 token. Once the Dredge has teleported to a locker, its power is placed on cooldown and the player must wait until the cooldown has finished to hold the power button once again. The Dredge's teleport speed by default when not in Nightfall is considerably slow. However, the Dredge's teleport speed can be increased with the use of the Boat Key add-on. Dredge's teleport speed when in Nightfall is almost instant. This means while in Nightfall, the Dredge is the fastest killer in the game, and with the use of the Boat Key add-on, can be considered the second fastest killer behind the Blight due to it being available at all times, unlike other killers with fast speeds such as the Oni, who has to meet specific requirements before using his power. The second part of the Dredge's power allows you to leave behind what is called the Remnant. The Remnant is a dark cloud that is left behind in the position where you started to hold down the power button. With correct positioning, the Remnant allows the Dredge to become a monster in chase. While holding down the power button, right-clicking on your mouse by default will instantly return you to the Remnant in the direction you were facing when you started to hold down the power button. This allows you to either completely shut down a loop or have a chance of hitting a survivor at a loop where it previously wouldn't have been possible. There is also a more advanced way at utilizing the Remnant in something that I am calling the Batman tech, but more on that later in this guide. It should be noted that the Remnant has counterplay. Any survivor that comes into contact with the Remnant physically will instantly destroy it, preventing the Dredge from teleporting back to it. Destroying the Remnant does not, however, prevent the Dredge from teleporting to lockers. The final part of the Dredge's power is called Nightfall. This is a period of time in the trial where the survivor's vision is incredibly limited. This is also when the Dredge is at its strongest. As previously mentioned, the Dredge's teleport speed is incredibly fast during this period. Nightfall takes time to build up. Every time you injure, hook, or place a survivor into the dying state, it will speed up the Nightfall's timer. Once Nightfall has occurred, survivors are engulfed in a bright white aura. Nightfall has a default length of 60 seconds. This time can be increased with certain add-ons. One thing to be aware of, it is possible for survivors to shorten the length of time Nightfall lasts for by destroying a Remnant during Nightfall. One final thing to note before we move on to the Dredge's perks and add-ons, it is possible for the Dredge to grab survivors from lockers when either a survivor locks a locker that the Dredge is in or is in the process of teleporting to, a survivor opens a locker that the Dredge is in the process of teleporting to, and a survivor is inside a locker that the Dredge teleports to. Also, when a survivor is hooked, all lockers within 12 meters of that hook are blocked by the entity, and the Dredge cannot teleport to them. However, this does not prevent the Dredge from manually entering a locker, so in theory, you could wait at a locker next to a hook survivor, although this strategy is not as efficient as you may think. The Dredge comes with 3 unique perks. The first perk is called Dissolution. After injuring a survivor by any means, any pallet that is vaulted over within your terror radius will instantly break 3 seconds after the injure. The second perk is called Darkness Reveal. After searching a locker, the auras of all survivors that are within 8 meters of any locker are revealed to you for 5 seconds. This perk is commonly used on killers like the Huntress and the Trickster. The third perk is called Septic Touch. Whenever survivors perform a healing action within your terror radius, that survivor becomes blind and exhausted. These effects will last for 10 seconds after the healing action has been completed or interrupted. The Dredge has 20 different add-ons. However, I will only be talking about a few of these, as some of the Dredge's add-ons are, in my opinion, not worth running over the ones I'm about to talk about. Working our way up from bottom in rarity, the Maulthinker's Skull increases Nightfall's charge rate speed by 66% while any survivor is injured, hooked, or dying. This add-on is incredible and I highly recommend it. The Hattie's Calendar reduces the time it takes to exit a locked locker by 1 second. This add-on is very useful in Chase. The Burnt Letters increases the amount of Nightfall charges you have by 25% when injuring a survivor. This add-on is amazing when paired with the Maulthinker's Skull. The Worrystone add-on will reveal a survivor's aura after they lock a locker for 6 seconds. This is a great way to keep track of survivors. The Automarian Writing decreases teleport cooldown time by 4 seconds when not in Nightfall. This add-on is amazing on builds built around mobility. The Broken Doll add-on increases Nightfall's duration by 20 seconds. This add-on is pretty good, but I feel like it may be unnecessary when playing the Dredge efficiently. The Lavier Microphone will reveal all survivor auras when exiting a locker on your 3rd token. This add-on will also open and slam all locker doors on the map once you begin teleporting. This is a great way to scare survivors and can even have some value when paired with the perk Dead Man's Switch. The Field Recorder add-on activates Nightfall at the start of a trial and will automatically trigger Nightfall when the 5th generator is powered. This add-on can be good for getting a fast chase at the start of a match and for maneuvering around the map to stop exit gates from being powered. A good combo for this add-on can be the perk No Way Out, which will block all gates for 12 seconds, plus 12 seconds per token for a maximum of 4 tokens, resulting in 60 seconds. And finally, my favorite personal add-on, the Boat Key. This add-on allows the Dredge to move 25% faster when teleporting when not in Nightfall. In my opinion, this is the Dredge's best add-on. It allows you to take full advantage of his maneuverability. The Dredge is a killer that is built around mobility and is very strong in chases. It is, in my opinion, his power is best utilized in a hit-and-run type of tactic. Your goal should be to end chases quickly, hook survivors, and teleport to areas of the map that generators are being worked on to pressure them. Your movement can be very unpredictable while using your power. Survivors can have a hard time of tracking where you're headed if they break line of sight of you. It is important to not overdo it, or to not be patient with it. Survivors can tell when you're charging your teleport as the Dredge's hand sticks out. Teleporting during chase is best when line of sight is broken. This is not to say that this is the only way to play the Dredge. The Dredge with certain builds can play like an area lockdown style of killer, like the Hag, the Trapper, and the Knight. Picking a 3-gen early into a match and defending is a valid strategy. The Dredge has the mobility required to pressure a 3-gen, while also starting chases and at the very least injuring a survivor in 3-gen scenarios. Let's talk about chases. Earlier we talked about how the Dredge can be a monster in chase. This is all due to the Remnant. When looping a survivor in a standard loop, like this one on the coal tower, you want to position your Remnant at the other side of the pallet and start walking the other way. Survivors are met with 2 choices, to leave the loop or to stay and try to mind game the Dredge. Patience is one of the most important aspects of playing Dredge. Very common mind games you will see survivors play on you is running towards the Remnant and juking back last second when they think you're ready to teleport. Many newer Dredge players fall victim to this, resulting in a few more seconds added to the chase, or in the worst case scenario, losing the chase entirely. In general, it is best to close the distance between yourself, the survivor, and the Remnant as much as possible. A good practice to keep is to not teleport at all. Many survivors will double back and you can let go of the power button and instantly hit them. This is not to say to let them run into your Remnant and drop the pallet. It just means you will need some experience to be able to judge what the survivors are going to do. Please keep in mind, it is important which side your Remnant is on. If placed poorly, you could be giving the survivor a chance to leave the current loop and transition to another loop. Try to place the Remnant in a way where if the survivor does leave the loop, they are essentially dead zoned. It is also important to remember to not place your Remnant directly in front of a pallet or a vault if at all possible. If you end up between a survivor and the pallet and the survivor is able to vault, they will instantly destroy your Remnant, leaving you stuck on the opposite side of the pallet. Now, it's time to talk about more advanced uses of the Remnant. The Remnant will keep its position no matter where it's placed, meaning you can place it mid-air. A great example of this is the pig chute on the game. As you are chasing a survivor who has dropped down the chute, place a remnant just before you drop out of the chute, move to the left side of the pallet, and bait them to drop it. As soon as the pallet is dropped, teleport back to your remnant and you should drop down right on top of them. Most of the player base is not aware of that specific example. However, it is important to gauge the intelligence of your opponents. If you are having a hard time mind gaming them, they may be ready for that specific example. After spending some time with this character, you will pick up on certain techs that you are able to do. Now, this leads into the Batman tech that I have mentioned before. The Batman tech is the practice of leaving a remnant in an unsuspecting area and ambushing survivors, or to leave the remnant in an unpredictable spot during chase to outplay survivors. There are two main examples of this I want to show. Firstly, when attempting to use a remnant to ambush survivors, let's say for this example, you are leaving your remnant at a hooked survivor's location to ambush the rescuer, you will need to leave your remnant in a location that is hidden from the unhooker. Even though many survivors won't understand what you're doing, they will destroy the remnant out of habit if they see it. Placing the remnant behind a hook or behind a wall or a tall object will ensure that the rescuer will not notice that you have laid a trap for them. Once you receive the loud noise notification of the unhook, instantly teleport back to your remnant and attack the rescuer. Please remember to be patient with this. Oftentimes, even if it's out of panic, the survivor who was just unhooked may take the hit for them. This practice can also work for generators. For this example, I have the perk Surveillance, which will notify me when a survivor begins working on a regressing generator. As soon as I see that the generator has turned yellow, I can teleport back to my remnant and stop that repair. This is an extreme example, and I would only recommend this if you are in a 1v2 situation or if the survivors are hiding from you too well. The second use of the Batman tech, and the one that you will be using most often, is the practice of dropping your remnant in a longer loop such as main building loops or killer shack loops. For this example, I have left my remnant outside of the killer shack window. I push the survivor into the shack, and as they vault the window, I quickly return to my remnant and get a free hit. This can also work in larger loops like the one shown which is on Midwich. Before I chase the survivor, I leave the remnant where I think she will end up. I force her to drop the pallet and I fake breaking it, which luckily forced her to run towards the opposite door. Once she passed through the threshold of the door, I returned to my remnant and I was able to down her. A third example is placing remnants below vault or drop locations and forcing survivors to vault or drop below. The possibilities with this are endless, and with experience, you will be able to find your own places to place remnants. Let's quickly talk about perks. The Dredge, as I have mentioned, is a mobility killer. Any perks that are informational will have value with this killer. Some of my favorites are Discordance, Surveillance, Barbecue and Chili, Tinkerer, and Floods of Rage. It is important to also utilize gen kicking perks, as taking the time to kick a gen is not as detrimental with the Dredge as it is to other killers. Perks like Pop Goes the Weasel, Call of Brine, and Eruption are good examples. Chase perks are very useful with the Dredge. Save the Best for Last, the Enduring and Spirit Fury combo, Bamboozle, and Hubris are some of my favorites. My favorite build with the Dredge is also a build that I would recommend for anybody starting out. Our add-ons will consist of the Maulthinker's Skull, which will give us Nightfall faster, and the Boat Key, which will allow us to teleport faster. For our perks, we will be using Discordance to know where we need to be to stop gen rushing, Pop Goes the Weasel to remove 30% of a generator's progress after I've hooked a survivor, Jolt to damage all generators within 32 meters for 8% when I down a survivor, and Deadlock to show me which gen I need to pressure the most, and to prevent repairs on it for 30 seconds. This should be an all-around decent build to respond to most situations in your matches. It should be noted that Jolt is the only perk in the game that can damage and regress a generator while Deadlock is active. This is a very nice combo that has definitely won me games. Feel free to experiment and find what works best for you. As a good standard for making your own build, I would recommend 2 gen regression perks, 1 informational perk, and 1 chase perk. However, the Dredge's flexibility will allow you to try more interesting builds. The Dredge is an incredibly strong killer when it's used to its potential. It has some of the fastest movement in the game and is capable of mind gaming the most experienced of survivors. This killer is also what you make of it. Taking the time to hone in your skills and figure out your playstyle will be the key to your success. Thank you so much for watching this guide. If you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord, which is linked in the description, and I will try to answer all of your questions to the best of my ability. As previously mentioned, I am also heavily involved on Twitch. If you would like to see Dredge gameplay live, you are welcome to head over using the link in the description and follow my channel on Twitch. I am live from Tuesday to Saturday at 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be it for this guide. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.